You are now entering a dangerous liberty zone where God-given natural rights are held sacred and exercised. This is your warning. Tyranny, fascism, and censorship will not be tolerated. Ideas will be exchanged freely. Rigorous debate and open discourse is encouraged. If you are weak and your beliefs are fragile, you should leave now. Prepare yourself. We are now live on the Dangerous Liberty Podcast.
All right, folks, happy Wednesday, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Dangerous Liberty Podcast. Folks, we got a great show for you today. I want everybody out there right now, make sure you like, subscribe, and most importantly, share our content. If you want to join us in the fight for truth, that is one of the best things that you can do to support what we're doing and this channel. Also, if you'd like to further support us, down in the description below, there is a link if you'd like to become a member. It's a couple of bucks a month. It goes a long way. And probably tomorrow, we're going to do a members-only show prior to our show. So anyways, make sure you come join us, and we do appreciate your support there. Also, go follow us on all our other social media, X, YouTube, Rumble, Instagram, and Facebook. So you guys can go follow us there. And we do offer subscriptions on X if you'd like to support us that way as well. We got a great guest. But before that, I do want to go ahead and say hi to everybody over in the chat. I see Lynn. Lynn, we love you. Go Tigers. JP Six Gunner, Wesley, Lori Matthews, we love you as well. Ex-Samurai, Steve Vacanti. I know, Steve, you hit the like button twice. We appreciate that. If you hit it 3 times, it's even better. Appalachian America, Whitney Stormy, and Hermetics, Alabama. Good evening to all of you, and thank you for tuning in. We appreciate you guys. We appreciate all your love and support. A lot going on. Man, there is a lot going on. As a matter of fact, before we get into any of the things that we're going to dive into, I'm going to bring you guys over to X, and I'm going to share this screen real quick, and we'll go here. Folks, if you're not, right now I'm on Jen the Producers. If you are not following Jen the Producer at Hot Brand Media, go follow her. She's been such a huge benefit to this show, and we appreciate everything that she does to make our show that much better. I want to bring you to this one right here. I know you guys can't even see this right now because I forgot to share it to you, but I'm going to go ahead and add this to the stage. So right now, in the last couple hours, we found out that apparently next week, and I think it came out last night from Laura Loomer, and I think she mentioned it on her show from yesterday. Candace Owens is going to Russia, and RT, and folks, if you don't know who RT is, that's Russia Today. Look, they are Russian propaganda right here on X. They have been retweeting, sharing, promoting Tucker Carlson, and now Candace Owens all over the place. So she announced that she is going to Russia. And right now, the Department of State has a level 4 do not travel advisory due to terrorism, wrongful detention, and unrest. Why on earth? What sane person would take their family? I'm assuming she's traveling with her kids. I don't know that. I'm assuming she's traveling with her kids. Doesn't matter if she is or not. What sane person would go to a country that's as adversarial as the United States amidst all of the unrest that we have going on in the world? Most people wouldn't. And it's especially telling to me if she's bringing her family. Why would she put herself and her family at such risk? Why is it so urgent to travel to Russia now? I think those are extremely legitimate questions. There's a very limited number of answers to those questions, and none of them are good. There is zero chance she's traveling there without the knowledge of the Kremlin. And I suspect, I don't know this is just my own suspicion and my speculation. I suspect that she's been in contact with Russian people that are high in the Russian government. We'll leave it at that. So I just don't see how this would take place any other way. She's been using the Charlie Kirk investigation to subvert the Trump administration for 8 months. Look, that is the primary goal of everything that she's doing within the Trump within this Charlie Kirk. It is to indirectly attack Trump. Well, it's kind of direct now, right? But it started off, we're going after TPUSA. And why were they going after TPUSA? Because TPUSA, Charlie Kirk, was absolutely critical in getting Trump elected. And it is TPUSA that's going to make sure that we win the midterms. if she doesn't destroy them and if she doesn't undermine them. And ultimately, she's trying to undermine the Trump administration. That's what this is about. This is about fracturing the right. That's the objective. Between Russia media promoting her and this visit, it's abundantly clear that she's collaborating with Russia against her own country. I really do believe this. And we've been talking about all the bot activity. Folks, you better believe that Russia is fully involved in pushing and using artificial means to make her and many other people that are pushing these different narratives that are subversive to the Trump administration. They're absolutely behind promoting Tucker Carlson and Baron Coleman and all these other people that are useful idiots at a minimum. They could be actively collaborating. I don't know. But what I can tell you is that I find this extremely suspicious. And I hope our own intel agencies are absolutely investigating this and seeing what's going on with all this. Because I don't know if this is a strategy meeting. I don't know. Like, how do you just decide, you know what, we're going to Russia? And by the way, isn't it crazy? Cinema Shogun brought this up. And I think it's such a beautiful point. She has made all these millions of dollars convincing people that she is investigating the assassination of Charlie Kirk. And here she is spending that money that they gave her under those conditions. And now she's going to Russia and I guess taking a holiday in Russia for whatever reason. Out of all the places that she could go, I mean, the only other place that would be more suspicious is China or Qatar at this point. But it is absolutely wild to me that this is taking place, and then there's still people that are willing to support the insanity of all this. The only other thing that I want to kind of bring your attention to before we get into and I introduce Shannon, our guest, is I want to bring it down here. Like, I am so sick of grifters, liars. I just can't stand it. Jesse on Fire has been pushing a lot of different conspiracies. He's been basically a Candace since the beginning of all this. And Jesse is one of the most sophisticated and intelligent content creators out there. I really do believe that. He knows how to entertain his audience. He knows how to build an audience. What he does really well. But he's been pushing so many of these different conspiracies. It's not funny. And he was smart enough to jump ship and to diverge away from Candace and some of these other people that were saying that Erica Kirk and TPUSA were involved in the murder of Charlie Kirk. And he went right to, which is a lot less risky, to Charlie Kirk is still alive. He faked his death. And then he ties into, everything that's going on, how suspicious Erica Kirk, this manufactured suspicion, he ties us into, well, she's just covering for him. It makes no sense. There's no good reason for this. This is the same stuff that I was hearing as a young kid on the National Enquirer, that Elvis was spotted in Texas somewhere. Like, he's still alive. And it's about as intelligent. So basically what he's saying, there's a guy down, for those people that don't know, and you guys can go watch this. I don't really care if you do or not. But, he's basically saying, hey, there's this guy named Palm Beach Pete that looks a lot like.
So there's a good time for me to do a real
similar. I mean, if you look at him and all and you start comparing pictures, it takes you about 3 seconds to figure out this is not the same guy. I understand the similarities. What I don't understand is somebody like him that I know, and he talked to me, he responded to this, and I responded to him. But he's like, hey, look, the teeth are the same. He shows his ear. You can immediately look at so many differences on this, but this is what we're going to focus on, that we have some similarity in overall appearance, and we get into the teeth and everything else. And I wrote, the same guy wants you to believe that Charlie Kirk faked his death, total BS, yet millions of views. This is what selling your soul looks like. People would far rather be handed an easy lie than search for a difficult truth, especially if it suits their own purposes. That's Joe Abercrombie. I had to look up who that was. I remember that quote, but I didn't. And trust me, I looked up that quote as well. I remember there was a good quote, but I don't know who Joe Abercrombie was, and I had to look that up as well. But it's a great quote. And I also wrote, don't bother comparing his upper teeth or any of the many other obvious dissimilar features that would instantly ruin the con. Other clear giveaways, completely different nose structure. Palm Beach Pete has a prominent mole on his left cheek than that Jeffrey Epstein doesn't have. All of this from just 3 different pictures in about 5 minutes of looking. I just looked up a couple quick things. You can see his nose versus a much more bulbous nose, and I know I wrote it right there, but a much more bulbous nose of his, and then their front teeth are completely different altogether. And there's so many other dissimilarities that it's just It's just low IQ crap. It really is. So, and he did respond. Let me see if I have his response, because I think that's important. Let me see. I don't know if he did it on this one or the other one. He might repost it somewhere. If I find it somewhere in here, I'll share it with you. But basically what I said was, he's like, I can't believe you'd put me in this category. I never say anything I don't believe. And I said, basically you're being insincere. Look, you're a smart guy, and you know as well as I do, you are pushing something that you know is not, and it's fraud. It's fraud, Jesse. And the sad thing is, Jesse and many of these other folks, they're talented people. They really are. They're talented people. They've been blessed with a huge audience, and all they care about is putting out salacious, sensational nonsense. And I basically said, hey, look, man, if I don't follow you, I don't watch your stuff. He follows me, which I guess is why he saw this so quickly. And he basically, I've never insulted you or anything. I don't care. I'm sick of people lying. And if I come across something that's just so stupid and dumb, I'm going to call you out on it. It's as simple as that, Jesse. And, and I said, ultimately, you need to use what God gave you for good. And that's that does need to happen. And I know this is like simple. This doesn't really matter. But this goes back to what I've been saying for the last several months, folks. Like, these little lies matter a lot. And we need to, and the problem here is his audience, that he's earned their trust, will believe him almost now, no matter what. No matter what he puts out, there's going to be some percentage of these people that believe him. And while this is kind of harmless, this is National Enquirer level type of stupidity and low IQ content, he may either convince himself or convince his audience of something much larger. And we see now what Candace Owens has grown into. Now, I think there's quite a bit of evidence between the last 9 months of her activity, what she's doing, and the fact that she is now traveling to Russia. I think there is a lot of evidence there that she's now collaborating with one of our biggest adversaries with the intent to undermine the Trump administration. Folks, there is nothing wrong, and I highly recommend, by the way, that we hold our government accountable, that we're critical of our government. But where we draw the line, where you start going off into territory that is not only immoral, but potentially illegal, is when you start lying constantly about your own government. When you become a propagandist that is constantly lying to push a point. And this is something that Democrats have always done. And then on top of that, now that you're collaborating with an enemy of the United States, that becomes a real issue for sure. So this is what's going on. And this is what we're seeing all across social media. This is what is being popularized, incentivized, encouraged, and ultimately extremely profitable. And we, the people that are watching this stuff, government should never have to get into this. The companies that run this, X, YouTube, they should never have to get involved in this, because we, the people, should be in the comments saying, no, this is a lie. This is dumb. And they should not be rewarded. I mean, just his X post had like 130,000 views. God only knows how many views that video has. But we're conditioning people constantly. Well, a lot of people out there are conditioning people constantly just to believe utter BS. And we got to start holding them accountable. And that's why I'm not just going to scroll by that, even though I don't have any issue with Jesse on Fire. I do have an issue with some of the many lies and nonsense that he's been pushing. I think he hasn't been as bad as many of them out there. And again, but still, it's fraud. That's what this is. And there's no other thing to call it. And, I'm not just going to scroll by it. And you shouldn't either. All these little things, folks, we got to start holding people accountable. And it's you, the viewer, that has the power to do it. If that was always the case, then we would never have to need a call for government regulation. I don't want that. I definitely don't want any of these platforms regulating us and trying to tell us what is true and what's not true. It's your job. That's our job. All right. So without further ado, though, I want to go ahead and bring on Shannon from the S-Files. Thank you very much for coming on. I'll make sure I unmute you. Thank you for coming on. if you will, just take a moment and kind of introduce yourself, tell us who you are and what you're about.
Thank you for having me, of course. I just am a mom and I have a YouTube channel, which the S Files was born out of all of the lies of the mainstream media. And then I realized that YouTube and social media were actually way worse. And there are no guardrails where, so that is, the whole point of the S Files and where it came from and why it started.
Well, I've been following you for a long time, especially on X, and you put out a lot of great content. It's clearly that you spend a lot of time doing research, and I thought it'd be great to have you on, just talk about and to give a little bit more visibility to you. I think you deserve it.
Thank you.
And that's what I try to do with this channel, and I love being able to collaborate and talk with some of these bigger shows and creators and all those things. Matter of fact, this morning, folks, I did like a 3-hour interview with Tinashe, and it was it was kind of a reverse thing. He was interviewing me and we were going through my life story, and I was trying to remember things that happened 35, 40 years ago at this point. But that was a lot of fun. And I love talking with people like that have been in the space a long time. But the other thing that I really want to do is get more people involved, and people that are getting into it. I want to make sure that we're doing everything we can to encourage you to keep doing that. We need more truth tellers. And unfortunately, we're kind of, it's David versus Goliath, right? So many of these, whether we're talking about Candace, whether we're talking about Jesse on Fire, or some of these other big channels, they are really good at selling people things and creating a large audience. And what we can't do with our overall size, we need to make sure that we're doing it with quantity, right? And so if we need tens of thousands of more truth tellers out there like you that are doing what, and hopefully we can help continue to build our audience and guide people to what's true and help them to, figure this out, like how to figure out what is true and what is not, and hopefully lead them by first principles.
Right. Like, when we lost Charlie, I remember saying, it's going to take like a 1,000 of us to even try to fill the void he left.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And yes, the people on the other side, most of them all started with big platforms to begin with. And then the algorithm pushes their content. So then you have people like me who start out on the wrong side of the algorithm, so the channels just kind of stay small, but that's okay. You just keep doing it. And, people appreciate it. Like I may only get 50 views on a video, but I get a couple of comments that are just so grateful, and that makes it worth it to me. So
no, and it does. And by the way, folks, make sure you guys stop what you're doing right now and go follow Leah on ES Files. Her links are down in the description. Go follow her on X. Go follow her on YouTube, and continue to watch her channel and support her as well. But you're absolutely right. When Charlie, there was no way that anyone was going to even try to fill Charlie's shoes. I definitely didn't realize how critical he was in this day and age until after we lost him, right? I think we see now that he was literally this massive bulwark that was holding back this flood of these grifters and these groypers and these, like, the way that he was able to push back these anti-Semitic tropes and these anti-Semites, and quite frankly, there's no other way to call them. I hate when people call someone a Nazi. Like, these people, what they believe is indistinguishable from a Nazi. And they're kind of repackaging that whole thing and pushing the exact same tropes, the exact same talking points, the exact same propaganda. And unfortunately, it's working. I don't think it's working as much as social media would have us to believe. And we had a good conversation on that last night with S-Dubs. But, this is what's going on here in the United States. And when we lost Charlie, it was huge. And we need 10,000 people to step up to fill his shoes.
Right. And you're right. Their rhetoric is exactly the same. Did you see that video where Milk Bar spliced Candace and actual Nazi propaganda, and
No, but I would love
it's
to.
literally
Jen, you got that?
identical.
Yeah, Jen, if you can grab that, I would like to see that. We always like to promote Nathan and his content. He does a great job as well. No, yeah, you know, it's the exact same ideology, and it comes down to that Israel is the cause of everybody's problems. Jews are the cause of everybody's problems, and now they've kind of gotten rid of the word Jew and they just say Zionists. Well, I never said Jews. Well, Zionists. You know what you're saying. You know what you're doing. So not only are you saying all Jews, but at the same time, you're going ahead and you're lumping in anybody that happens to support Israel. So it's still racist. It's still bigoted. You're just adding more people to the same word. So if I just, I think Israel has a right to exist. I'm the same as these evil Jews. That's what's being said there.
Right, and they've also taken the term Zionist, which from my understanding means that you believe Israel has a right to exist.
That's it.
They've pretty much turned it into, if you don't hate Israel and blame Israel for everything and it's the Jews, then you're a Zionist.
Yeah, and if you don't hate Israel and you don't support their destruction, then you're not America first. That's the other thing that they want to present to me. Like, don't even come at me with that, dude. Like, I can support any country's right to exist, and at the same time, still always prioritize our country, our interests. That's what I will always do. And you trying to shove it down everybody's throat that supporting Israel, which this is a lie, by the way, supporting Israel is not in America's interest, and that if we don't feel the exact same way as you, somehow we're a traitor to our country. That's what they're trying to smuggle in there, and it's not going to work. It's not going to work with me, and I know a lot of people out there feel the exact same way. And I love to see Trump, MAGA just continue to destroy people left and right. We saw that with Ken Paxton's win. Just a landslide victory against Cornyn and all these people, Massey. We see all of these people that the Groypers, the Doomers, the Black Pillars, the Candace Owens, the Tucker Carlsons are telling us these people can't win. And all it takes is Donald Trump throw an endorsement at them and they win. And by the way, Cornyn outspent Paxton 9-1. 9-1. So you can't say it's about money and it wasn't paid for by Jew dollars. It was just a matter of the fact that, Trump is just an indomitable freaking politician. And, he is crushing. He's crushing it. People support him as they should, because we have for the first time a real America first president, and the globalists are trying to trick us into giving up on him, and nobody should.
Yeah, like I said, Megyn Kelly on the Hodge twins. That was a real high IQ interview there. She said that MAGA is a tiny group now. MAGA is now tiny, and Massey lost because of AIPAC and the Jews. So, yeah.
Oh, man. It's fun to watch them cope. It really is. It's hilarious to watch them cope. Let me see. Oh, here we go. We got it right here. Let me add
Christopher
this.
Hitchens said, they're going to make up this term Islamophobia to shut us down. And that's by design. You are not.
Get up there.
Remember what Christopher Hitchens said? They're going to make up this term Islamophobia to shut us down. And that's by design. There's no such thing as Islamophobia. You are not only entitled to, quote, fear Islam, I would argue it's your duty.
I'm sure this is a good clip, but Shannon, is this the clip that you were talking about?
For the Nazi stuff?
Yeah.
No. If she can't find it on his page, because it's kind of old,
okay.
I have it up on my channel, and it'll be easier to find because I don't have that many videos.
Well, let's play this, and while we're playing this, I'll be looking for that one.
Duty as a Christian to stand up and fight against it.
Yeah.
But I think he's understanding there may be some new listeners over here. Like he's gotten very, very popular lately, I read, with Muslim viewers because he's been standing up for Islam.
I'm a Christian. On the other hand, I just like reverent people. And anyone who bows down before God and admits I'm not God 5 times a day, but that person is not by definition my enemy. The Christian worldview, and by the way, also the Muslim worldview, is a universal worldview. Anybody can come to this faith. That's my worldview.
Like, I actually have Muslim friends who are absolutely totally lovely and have no designs on jihad whatsoever. They just want to raise their families in a way that actually bears a lot of resemblance to how we Christians live, in a God-fearing way, in a way of where you observe your faith, a way in which you don't want weird woke ideologies finding its way into your child's classroom. There's actually a lot in common. It is not consistent with the values of the West or America, and therefore you have no problem. You should have no problem standing up against it while being kind to your Muslim American neighbors.
Shannon, do you know the name of that video? Because I don't see it on here either.
Let me see.
I looked through your live, I looked through your shorts, looked through your videos.
I think I titled it like Milk Bar Remix, but let me. No, I don't want to do that.
You can share your screen over there on that side too.
All right. Okay.
While you're doing that, let me hit a couple of super chats. We got Disney Up, Boiler Up. Good to see you, girl. It's not a party till the redhead shows up. Let me change this view. Oh my goodness. My mouse is acting up on me again. Gary, this is too obvious. People are smart enough to know about the do not travel, or even if moderate. Right now, she's just too obvious putting it out there. There's a reason behind it. Haunting. Yeah, I think that's true. The other part of this is like, I think she's having a hard time creating content at the same time being cognizant of the lawsuits and know that more are coming. I really do. That's like, she's kind of stuck trying to thread that needle. And I saw the title for her video today. I didn't watch it. I know she's talking more about Fort Huachuca and a plane landing there. She's not going to let it go. She's not smart enough to let it go. So anyways, yeah, I think that's part of the issue and why she's going to Russia. Who knows what those conversations entail. Sarah Jane Blades, I'm back. I'm not fully up to date, but sound even worse than before. Russia FFS. Can't make this up. Hope everyone is good. I agree. Did you find that video?
Yeah, I got it.
Thank you very much. We appreciate you. Just saying hello to support. I won't be here too long. Colton, we appreciate you, buddy. Hated to see you go last night. Down there, you should be able to share your screen, Shannon. It says present down at the bottom of your screen, or it should be a little like human icon that says present or invite. Then it'll give you the option of what to share. For anyone that actually did watch today's Candace, let us know what's going on that. Here we go. Give it up, Candace. Fort Huachuca is never going to happen. It'll never be a thing. She can't let it go. Russia is in America first. How dare she go up against the agenda? Sometimes the government doesn't lie, though. Sometimes they do, and sometimes they don't. Look, I was thinking about this today because this is something that, like, this is not black or white. This is stupid binary thinking. It's like, oh, the government said it, they lie, so I have to believe something else. Like, the U.S. government is so big, so massive. There's so many agendas at play. I mean, and you can take the government and say that, but then you can take every single agency. There can be times where you have a wholly corrupt IRS doing a bunch of crazy things, even under Donald Trump's nose. But then you can have the FBI actually conducting a legitimate investigation, like we see with Charlie Kirk. And by the way, it's actually being led by Utah FBI. So, The fact is, our government is huge, and to just say that it's all corrupt all the time has never been true. But also to say it's never corrupt some of the time is also not true. And I think you need a little bit of level of sophistication and a little bit of logic to apply that. And I'm telling you, like what's crazy to me is I'm seeing more and more of these people. These are literal flat earthers. Most of these people that believe this nonsense. And unfortunately, there's clearly 6 million people following Candace right now that'll believe this nonsense. If you believe that all of those are true, I think that a lot of this is Russian bots. I think a lot of this is funded by Iran pushing her content and botting her content. Same thing with China and God knows who else, including Europe. I mean, none of these people like Donald Trump. All of these people would prefer any other candidate to be in there. And if they got to defeat him and they can help defeat him through the means that we're talking about in the midterm, they'd be happy to do so. All right, Shannon, what you got there?
Gary, it's Jen.
Oh, sorry.
Is it the one where Milk Bar TV is comparing Candace Owens to Nazi rhetoric?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's it.
Okay, let me pull it full screen and then I'll play it for you guys.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Es ist eine kleine, wurzellose internationale Clique, die die Völker gegeneinander hetzt.
It's Jewish supremacists. They had everything to do with the Civil War in America. They excel at creating the false dialectic, the North versus the South, the left versus the right. You got to wake up, especially if you're in America, okay? And they come over to America, and kind of the story that we're told is, oh, everyone just came with the clothes in their back and like made it big in Hollywood or made it big in modern psychology. And I'm like, no, America was a young country. We were very susceptible to all of these things. Jewish people were the ones that were trading us. Jewish people were in control of the slave trade. They've buried a lot of it, control the media. They just do. Okay, one way or the other, Zionists control the empire medias. And it's only through actually engaging and reading these books that would never become movies, these books that you are not allowed to read, that you can truly understand what's happened in this country, because we all recognize that something's not right. Wake up to who publishes these books and keeps us warring with one another. Christians versus Christians, right? Christians versus Muslims. Wake up and learn the true history of slavery. It's Jewish people, how they have accomplished things, this false dialectic, their means to accomplish running Western society, breaking apart Christian empires, gambling, a major vice, drugs, prostitution, sex, pornography. We Jews love pornography because we hate Catholics and we hate Jesus and allows us to crush the church. They want to make you guys think that this culture is okay, because then they can subjugate your culture. Those people who are still in positions of power, thinking that it could be fair, thinking that we could just work hard, thinking that we could run a company, that we could launch this revolution where people were going to be happy in the future because America was the land of the free. No values that exist outside of the Talmud. You describe yourself as a Talmudic Jew, and I've learned what's in that Talmud. They think that we're animals, that they have a right to own us, that they have a right to make us worship them, that they have a right to lie to us, that they have a right to sue us and take everything that we have, that they have a right to deceive us. They will become whatever they have to become. They are like their brains are wired. It's a pathology. Their brains are wired to lie. Zionists. I've never seen anything like it. Brave generation people would think like I did. Like, oh my gosh, we have to make sure that a Holocaust never happens. We have to support Israel. Nope. Now we are reading the books. We're learning about how you've executed this. You've blindfolded the entire world to what you are. And what I think you might be is possessed by a real demon. This is for them a religious philosophy, a racist perspective that we are goyim, meaning cattle that are meant to be herded and ruled over. And there's a lot of people, and would they, if they could, mass kill everybody in this country? Yeah, they would. I believe people are psychopaths. I hate all of you. I think you guys are all a part of the same demonic entity. Your God is Satan. You guys are Baal worshipers. You will continue to kill and sacrifice children until you feel that demon rewards you. And I stand against
Candace,
you.
You're intense.
Yeah, this is how I feel about these people.
Intense.
They are satanic, right and left at the top. There's no life in these people. This is the synagogue of Satan.
Wow. This is how I really feel about these people. And it's Folks, could you imagine? Let's say there's no Israel, there's no Jews on the planet. Do we think that pornography suddenly gone? Do we think that prostitution, which essentially is another form of pornography, I mean, it's the oldest occupation for a reason. Look, everything that we just discussed would be prevalent in this country with or without Jewish people involved. I don't even know what the percentage of the Jews involved in these types of industries or things. I don't doubt that there's Jews involved in pornography. I don't, but you know what? I also know there's Italians. What about gambling? You think that's just a Jewish thing? I know there's freaking Irish, Italians, whatever. You name Latinos. Like to sit there and be so dumb, you blame all of the world's problems on 0.2 of the population. It's just the dumbest thing that you can possibly say. You know, one thing she said that I'd never heard of before, I would like an explanation. I don't know if you have heard this, Shannon, but she said, we know that Jews were the reason behind the Civil War. I think that was a new one for me. I've never heard that said, and I would love to hear the explanation behind that.
I have no idea, and I am a big history nerd and have gone into, you know, all the way from ancient Rome to American history. I have never heard of the Jews being, you know, a major player in the Civil War, or that they were major players in the slave trade. That's Candace. That one of her books she read, I guess. I don't. And then she goes with the Talmud, which that is not their, I don't know what it's called, but like that's not their, you know, religious book. Yeah. I mean, it's not a canon law book. It, from what I understand, it's basically like 800 years old, and it's a bunch of rabbis discussing the Jewish faith. So, I mean, imagine if we had a book of, say, Catholic priests from 800 years ago going over things.
Yeah,
there would probably be some not so friendly, possibly racist stuff in there as well. So, I mean, her bringing up the Talmud constantly, that's unfair.
I just decided to look this up to see if we get anything off of Grok, and I'll share this with you, just so that you guys can know what I know on this. But this claim is baseless, anti-Semitic conspiracy theory with no credible historical support. Wow, imagine that. It originates from the long-standing anti-Semitic tropes about Jewish financial control, scapegoating, and secret manipulation of wars for profit. Tropes that have circulated for centuries that were amplified by fringe, far-right, and some Nation of Islam linked materials. Imagine that. Jews were a tiny minority. Look, nothing's changed since between now and the late 1800s. In the U.S. during the Civil War, roughly 150,000 out of 31 million Americans, many recent immigrants, they were divided like the rest of the country. Most in the North supported the Union. Those in the South, about 25,000, largely supported the Confederacy. Thousands fought on both sides, with estimates of Jewish soldiers proportional to or exceeding their population share. That'd be interesting. I want to look that up. Prominent examples include Judah P. Benjamin, a Jewish Confederate cabinet member, Secretary of State, etc., and various Jewish soldiers, contractors, and civilians on both sides. Jews owned slaves at rates similar to other Southerners of comparable wealth, not disproportionately. The war's real causes were sectional conflicts over slavery's expansions, states' rights, economic differences, tariffs, industrialization versus agriculture, and Southern secession after Lincoln's election. Jews were accused of profiteering, smuggling cotton, or disloyalty. Union General Ulysses S. Grant issued General Order No. 1, expelling Jews as a class from his military district due to black market trading frustration. This reflected widespread stereotypes, Jews as greedy merchants, Shylocks, but was not evidence of causation. It was overturned by Lincoln. Circulation in the 20th century, Henry Ford's The International Jew pamphlets like Abraham Lincoln and Rothschild's, and later far-right text by Willie Martin, it claims Lincoln resisted these bankers, leading to his assassination by a Jewish plot. John Wilkes Booth was not Jewish. This is fabricated. You know, that's the thing, is like, once you start digging into any of these things, there's so many lies that you come across with just a little bit of truth sprinkled in so that it is somewhat believable. And that is just disinformation and propaganda at its core. That's what it does. It takes a little bit of truth and it just builds an entire narrative out of thin air, using those grains of truth so that it sounds believable and people are just deceived by it left and right.
Yeah, that's the best way to do it, is to sprinkle in a little bit of truth. It's the most effective way that I've seen.
Absolutely.
And to anybody out there that is one of, the Jew haters, every country that's gone hard against the Jews basically destroyed themselves. So it's not really a good idea.
I'm just laughing at a super chat over here. That's pretty funny. Well, let's get into our topics for tonight, because I think they're really interesting. And one of them is kind of sprinkled all throughout the Charlie assassination story, and that is the group known as UnFAmerica, or the UnFAmerica tour, which were involved. We have Hunter Kozak that was allegedly part of this. I know Destiny has been a guest speaker of these people. So they have been involved, and they have been harassing TPUSA long before Charlie Kirk was ever killed. I got a couple of videos down here. Jen, if you want to throw, I don't know which one would take precedent out of all the ones that you have, but feel free to throw those up, and then we'll have Shannon talk a little bit about that.
Does open debate like Charlie.
Oh, let me pull this down. I'm not setting you up for success. There you go. Go ahead.
Remember the UnFAmerica tour, which is basically just all those liberals that just follow Charlie Kirk around everywhere. So Elon Musk shared this post that says there's no prominent leftist anywhere that does open debate like Charlie does. So Z, the leader of the UnFAmerica tour, said this is what happened last time we tried to debate Charlie Kirk. It was Dean Withers standing to the side and all of them screaming, "Why won't you debate Dean?" when they were on this college campus. And they were saying he was a you-know-what because he was refusing to. Do you know why he wasn't? Because he's already debated Dean and Parker over and over. See, what Dean and Parker were doing, they were following him around to each campus and trying to get in front of the line in front of everyone because they felt like they were more important than everyone else. And then they would ask 2 or 3 questions and Charlie Kirk would debate him. And then Charlie Kirk would be like, okay, next person. They would be like, no, let's keep going. When there were dozens of other people at these college campuses wanting to debate Charlie Kirk. The reason he went from college to college is because most college kids can't just drive around the whole country and follow him like Dean and Parker and Z can. So the people in the UnFAmerica tour try to make every single stop about them instead of having people that go to those schools getting a chance to debate Charlie Kirk because they feel like they're more important than all those college kids. Yet they'll paint it like Charlie was scared.
Yeah, and let's throw this one up there too. Sorry.
10% of the vote.
Just basically.
I'm trying to play.
Is to organize electorally and win elections.
Her company, Soul Strategies, went 0 for 22 last year in elections. Like, hey, everybody.
Let me start this at the beginning.
Our goal is to organize electorally and win elections.
Her company, Soul Strategies, went 0 for 22 last year in elections. Like, hey, everybody, if you're wondering why Z is focusing so hard on attacking Charlie Kirk and raising money through this UnFAmerica tour, it's because her company, Soul Strategies, was paid by 22 separate Democrat campaigns last year, and every single one of them lost their election. Shit, most of them didn't even make it through the primary. And how would I know this? Well, that's because it's public record. I can see who paid Soul Strategies for campaign work. Last year, her company took in $304,458. And every single candidate she was paid to help get elected fucking lost. Like Marianne Williamson for president? Yeah, they paid her $72,880. She very obviously didn't win. Morse for Maryland, who paid her $44,300. Yeah, he didn't even win the primary. David Mandel, who paid $23,000. He lost in the primary. We got Trey Hunt for Congress, paying nearly $20,000. Yeah, he lost. Quincy Barabee for Congress. Not only did she not make it through the primary, Fedora, Focht, Woody, candidate that they support for 22. Not a single candidate that they supported was able to win. So yeah, she needs a new grift.
All right, so we're going to talk more about Z Cohen Sanchez in just a moment, but what we know is that she was tied into this UnFAmerica tour. She was one of the leaders behind it, and I just looked it up to confirm it. But we definitely have Hunter Kozak. He was officially listed. Kozak appears on the tour's website as one of the creators, content creators. The tours featured left-leaning influencers, debaters aiming to challenge conservative figures in events, particularly those from Turning Point USA. And for those of you who don't know, Hunter Kozak was the person asking the final question right as Charlie Kirk was shot. So there's a lot of linkage in here. And then suddenly, out of nowhere, we have Project Constitution, who is linking up with the UnFAmerica tour, who is the Charlie Kirk investigator that's trying to get to the bottom of all this. He is linking up with the UnFAmerica group, and now UnFAmerica and Z Cohen Sanchez is exposing these fake chapters that TPUSA has. And I think that's a good place to kind of stop and let you kind of take over, Shannon. Explain you were explaining to me what they were essentially doing, and then take it kind of wherever you want to from there.
Yeah, she was basically, the video is called Ghost Chapters. And her, I guess, theory is there are not as many chapters as Turning Point would like you to believe, that some of them don't even exist. So out of a list of like 3,000 chapters, which, and in the video, she doesn't specify between college and high school. So it makes it kind of difficult. And then she also is talking about how Turning Point as a 501c3 isn't supposed to be political. And then she's throwing up clips of Turning Point Action, which Turning Point Action is the political arm. Yes. So you're being deceitful right from the beginning, you know? So she is investigating these chapters. And from what she said, she called 72 schools. But like I said, she didn't really say whether they were the college ones or the high school ones. I think they were the high school ones. And she said out of 72, only 7 of them could be confirmed. And she's trying to make this seem somehow nefarious when there could be many reasons why a Turning Point chapter may be listed and is no longer there. Maybe the kids graduated. Maybe they opened one and, you know, quit after a while. And especially since the assassination of Charlie Kirk, some people probably pulled out due to safety reasons. They don't feel safe having a Turning Point chapter. So that's something, because I just found that video like 2 days ago, and that's something that I want to look into more myself, is how many of these Turning Point chapters are really active. And if her whole point is to point out fraud, if Turning Point isn't giving these chapters any money, then what difference does it make if the numbers are a little off anyway?
Yeah. Well, and one of the things, as you pointed out, she goes in, she creates a Turning Point chapter fraudulently, by the way. She uses a bunch of AI footage. She uses a fake address. So basically what she's doing is she's, you know, Turning Point to create one of these chapters requires some bona fides from you, some proof of your existence. And normally that includes, you know, some TV, you know, some footage, pictures, addresses, school names, all those things. You upload it there. I don't know how much time they spend vetting this, but she literally uploaded like AI footage, She fraudulently created this stuff and was like, oh, look what I did. I just created a fake chapter.
Right.
And there's more to it. And it should be taken a look at for sure. I mean, again, I don't know. There's lots of explanations here. But what it doesn't prove is that, you know, TPUSA is trying to fraudulently say that there's X amount of chapters when there's not. Like you just stated, there's lots of reasons why these chapters might have been started right before or right after Charlie Kirk's death, and maybe there was no follow through because of all the reasons that you listed. People leaving, people just, you know, I see people start businesses all the time. They create an LLC and they never do anything with it. So anyways, you know, these are things that happen in reality. And this is a company that hated Charlie Kirk, or an organization that hated Charlie Kirk before Charlie Kirk was killed. I'm not willing to go as far to say that they had anything to do with it. But when we start looking at, you know, armed queers of SLC, like all of these different people and organizations are tied into this. We see that there is a direct linkage between UnFAmerica and Destiny. There's a lot of suspicious things that took place with Destiny when Charlie Kirk was killed. You know, but the fact is like, I don't even know if it's possible to get evidence other than just start pointing fingers like the other side does. And I'm not willing to do that. Right. They don't care because they're unethical, and all they care, it's, you know, by any means necessary. And that's not how we operate. So just going out there and speculating all to heaven and back while you're basically accusing people of murder directly or indirectly is not something that anyone should participate in.
Right. And when she was on the phone with one of those schools, to me, it sounded like the person on the other end of the phone was a little too, like, happy that there was. She's like, oh, yeah, no, I can assure you, we've never had a turning point chapter here. You know what I mean? And that was out of the 72 schools that she supposedly contacted. I think she showed, like, she aired that one conversation, and like I said, the woman on the other end of the phone sounded like she wouldn't have wanted a turning point chapter at the school in the first place. You know what I'm trying to say? Like,
you're basically saying you don't even think that call was legitimate, more or less.
Right.
So, and that's the problem with all this. And that there's so many people that are so biased to begin with. They'll believe anything, any fresh meat that's thrown at them. They require no evidence. They require nothing that's verifiable. They'll take anonymous sources with unverifiable information and believe an entire narrative. And there's no way to say. I'm not saying that these things aren't happening. What I am saying is that we don't know the reason why. And I don't think that TPUSA necessarily has time to go around and make a bunch of fake, and I don't even see the point of it. Why would they go around and make a bunch of fake chapters? It just takes time and money that they don't have when they're out doing many other things and consumed with everything else that they are currently consumed with. You know, one of the things I just did is, you know, we have a lot of these different people that are involved in these types of, that are involved and somehow have inserted themselves into the Charlie Kirk conspiracy. And these are not good faith actors. And this is where this really comes down to me. It's like, comes down to it for me is, you know, when you have Z. Cohen Sanchez, who has always been a left-wing radical activist, and now they're doing some sort of, I don't know, investigation. It undermines the credibility of that to begin with. But again, you know, these are so many of these people that hated Turning Point to begin with. They are the farthest left possible. And then you have these people that are allegedly that were on the side of Charlie Kirk, and now they're just trying to, I don't know, get rich exploiting his dead body, like Project Constitution, like we're going to talk about Elizabeth Lane in a moment, and Candace Owens, Baron Coleman, Jesse UnFAmerica, all of these people. It's very obvious to me what's going on when they start linking up with UnFAmerica tour. I don't know else how to say that.
Yeah, and the UnFAmerica tour in itself, it says right on its website that, you know, it was created to be basically the antithesis to Turning Point. You know, it wants to be the left version of TPUSA. And we saw the clips with Dean, you know, following Charlie around to campus tours and harassing him. And we're going to trust the people who run that organization to do an investigation into Turning Point fraud. Why didn't they do that when Charlie was still alive? And I find it hard to believe that Turning Point was getting away with much of anything, especially under the Biden administration. I mean, if they were doing anything, I'm sure the Biden administration would have been right on that. And, you know, Erica, it's just been what, like, basically not even a whole, it was just about school time when Charlie was assassinated, because, you know, the tour had just started. So Erica has been CEO for one school year, and under the most horrific circumstances. So really, whatever happened under Charlie's watch. So you guys are diminishing Charlie, but these UnFAmerica people, they never liked Charlie in the first place, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, no, and that's something that I've talked about. We've had other people on here talking about it as well. Like, ultimately, all this stuff there, like when you're talking about with Dances with Wolves or Wolves in Finance, whatever that AI guy is, and he's talking about all the discrepancies between a 501c3, 501c4, which we've had people on here to talk about. Basically, folks, you know, one of the things that we've kind of touched on already is, as a 501c3, you can't get into politics. But what you can also have is a 501c4. It is a nonprofit that allows you to engage in political action. And when you have someone like Charlie Kirk that's part of both of those, for instance, when you are putting on AmFest, which I'm sure was primarily funded by their 501c4, they sit there and conflate that, and they'll tell people, oh, well, they're a 501c3. They can't engage in politics, and yet here they are doing that. So it's illegal. They should be investigated and all of these other things. But what they don't understand is, like, they're also part of the 501c4. They can, like, switch hats at any time that they want and engage in political discussions, just like they do all throughout AmFest and many of their other, I mean, honestly, even in his debates and things like that, those are all politically driven, right? So, like, in Turning Point USA and Turning Point Action are kind of, and you can say that, well, it shouldn't be like that. Well, it is like that. Like, you can disagree with how that system is set up, but he can basically switch hats doing those things anytime he wants. So that's what's going on with that. And they try to conflate those things, and they just confuse people because people don't know how these things work. So it's an easy sell. It's a logical argument for an illogical concept or position. That's what they do. And I just want to show everybody here. I pulled up the UnFAmerica tour, and I want you to look down here at the bottom. Look, platform paid for by Act Blue. I mean, this is a left-wing, this is a Democrat-ran organization. It's funded, created. This is all one big political psyop that also happens to be useful to our foreign adversaries as well. You have all of these different interest groups that are converging on this one thing that happens to be the center of this is Candace Owens. And they are absolutely teaming up with them because Candace wants to destroy for TPUSA, I think, literally mostly out of resentment, anger, and jealousy. And they're just along for the ride. Like, it works out for us because by attacking TPUSA now, it also attacks Charlie's legacy and everything that he was able to accomplish. It also undermines the Trump administration and their efforts. It also fractures the right. It also, if it's successful, it will ensure that we lose the midterms and ultimately lose in 2028. And all of these organizations and entities, whether we're talking about countries in Europe, whether we're talking about China, Russia, Iran, or Act Blue, the DNC, it's a win-win for everybody. So of course they're going to artificially boost this. Of course they're going to share her content and promote her. Of course they're going to get her views. Of course they're going to get her to 6 million subscribers. And these people that think they're right wing and fighting for justice for Charlie are just useful idiots. Uh-oh. There you go.
No, yeah,
I thought I lost
exactly. No, I'm still here. I was listening. Yeah, you are exactly right. Yeah, no, I think most of the people that watch Candace now are the people who never liked Charlie in the first place. I've seen it in the comments, in her comment section. No, I never liked Charlie, but I'm here for this.
And I played that the other day when I read Charlie's letter to Bibi Netanyahu. The first thing I started it off with was going back to his old tweets that were, from 2025 and going through and just showing everybody that all these people that are now fighting for Charlie's legacy and, want to make sure that justice for Charlie are the same people that were down in his comments calling him all the things that we are told now, that we're paid for by Israel, that we're a traitor, we're, the worst things possible, we're a goy, we're this, we're that, like all of the same things that they say about us now and people that are fighting for the truth, they were saying about Charlie a year ago, right up to the time that he was killed. And you know what? I think we're in good company, as far as I'm concerned. You want to call me the same things that you called Charlie Kirk, it means I'm on the right side of everything. I'm on the side of God. I'm on the side of this country. I'm on the side of truth. I'm on the side of history. So, you know what? If you want to say those things about me, fine. Send it.
Just the amount of attack and the ferociousness of the attack on TPUSA and Erica kind of just led me to believe that it's not organic and it's coming from an evil place. Because I think when Charlie was assassinated, like I know you've talked about this before, there was a revival in this country, and we and the right united, and the devil didn't like it, and the Democrats didn't like it, and now they're teaming up to trash and try and undo everything that was happening.
No, I couldn't agree more. And, another good indicator for all this, I was trying to pull up, I saw a new one coming around today. That's because I'm searching. Let me see. Let me try to find this. But, a good indication of this is all the Erica Kirk AI videos that they're having to create, right? They have to create these false perceptions. They can't stick with reality. They can't stick with the truth. They have to create all of these crazy AI videos. This is a great example of one right here. And then these morons actually think this stuff is true. That's the wild thing about this. Let me throw this up there. This is a great example, one that was going around. People were saying, they believe it. Look, and look down here. Do we see any freaking community notes? No. Like, that's another thing that's crazy to me. Like, these people can say anything they want about Erica Kirk, TPUSA, and I never see community notes. I never see that. But you get one little thing, one little detail wrong on a post, and you'll get hit with a community note quick. I got somebody posted something about I know what it was. I was talking about, I showed a picture of Candace Owens fishing, and I put down, it was like 15 days. It was actually like a month after he was killed. I got the date wrong. It was again, just a mistake on my part. It had no relevance to what I was trying to say, but I was like, what stage of grief is this? Could you imagine if 20, 30 days after Charlie Kirk was assassinated, Erica Kirk is out on a fishing boat fishing for like a week and a half? Could you imagine what was being said? But the person that loved him the most, that was his best friend in the world, that just happens, she doesn't even know what his kids look like. It's such a dumb thing to say. He's my best friend.
And you remember, she took that trip because she had to get away to go cry for 2 weeks. Remember?
Yeah.
But her Candace's grief has changed. She said at first that she couldn't function for the first 2 weeks, but then she was doing her show, so we were like, that's not cutting it. So then she said, oh, well, when I went to Wyoming, that's when I was really crying. And then we have the picture, of the one you're talking about where she's, smiling with her fish. So yeah, what stage of grief was that?
Yeah. And here's some of these other ones, like these. And it's unreal to watch all of these different AI videos. Here's another one. Here's Erica Kirk entrance at TPUSA All-American Halftime Show. Finally, we got a note there. This is AI generated video. It has 2.3 million views. People actually believe this was Erica Kirk last night. And this is the one there's a video right of this. AI created, this is not Erica Kirk, but here they are trying to say and create this false narrative that, where's the original? I think they said this was like a week after he was killed or a couple days after he was killed. But again, this is what they do. They're creating a false narrative, and they have to do it with overtly fake things, but these people eat it up. They eat it up.
Yeah, I mean, they can't find anything legitimate on Erica. If there really was anything to find about Erica, they would have found it already, because all of the Candace cultists are out there digging and have been. And everything they've come up with has, been able to be debunked, or it's like this and it's just completely fake to begin with.
Yeah. No, folks, it's all one big psyop, and it's all they got. All they got is what is actually fake and gay. Let me hit a couple of comments real quick. Candace, for legal reasons, has to switch targets, hence why she stopped the French Brian claims. She needs more dramatic changes to keep her show popular, like Euphoria. She needs to shift fire. Erica will be the last suit. I hope so. She sounds like a new version of the Zeitgeist documentary. I didn't see that. I don't know what you're talking about. Anybody that has context to that. And by anybody, Jen or Shannon, if you know what the Zeitgeist documentary is, I haven't seen that. I think Hunter and his groups were following Charlie. They're there for a purpose, so they're not stalking. Obviously, they didn't know someone was going to shoot a rifle at all. Maybe. Okay. I mean, that's fine, but they were following them around. And again, Hunter Kozak was part of that. I don't know if saying that they're there for a purpose. I'm not saying that they were stalking him necessarily, but I think they were there to troll TPUSA. That was the entire point of what their group was doing. Candace defending Tyler from the get-go was suspicious. It was extremely suspicious. And even she said that she thinks he was involved. She said this multiple times now, but she's never kind of flushed that out. She's never explained how he was involved. And, why was he 3.5 hours from home? Why did he have a rifle there? That was another big thing I'm going to show you guys here in just a moment. That's been going around that, Tyler Robinson wasn't even a gun guy. I also need to get Jane Doe on here at some point as well. So Jane, if you're down in the comments, I'm about to give you a quick shout out as well. But let me find this post because this is important. If not, I'll just go straight to Jane Doe and what she has uncovered. Here we go. Make sure I'm showing you guys this. Let me get rid of this real quick. So Jane Doe, posted this. This is from recently released search warrants. You guys can go check those out. But Tyler Robinson gained apartment and Apple account warrants. Apple data linked to Lance Twig accounts tied to the photo showing Tyler's handwritten letter before it was burned. Apartment search warrant documenting items seized from the apartment, including the burnt letter recovered from the trash. The warrants provide a clear picture of Tyler's letter to Lance. Letter from Luna, all that stuff is good. But let's get down here for just a moment. 2 boxes of Remington 30-06 cartridges, 5 30-06 cartridges, 1 etched test shot, 15 cartridges, empty plastic Ruger gun box, Smith & Wesson magazines, revolver and holster, a passport, a 22 Henry rifle, 22 Winchester rifle, 22 Rossi long rifle. And, you know, the crazy thing is, and what I wrote up here, Diligent Denizen, who is another grifting scumbag, said that Tyler's grandmother claimed that he wasn't a gun guy. And that's why we find all of this gun stuff, right? Both actual firearms and accessories. Like most grandparents, she clearly didn't know everything about Tyler. But sure, reject the mountains of physical evidence and cling to a conspiracy fantasy with zero proof. We've reached full-on flat earth territory. And I think that's true. Like they will accept nothing. I had another person tell me, oh, this is all gossip. While she was defending what, I was like, wow, this is ironic. This lady's defending what Diligent Denizen heard from the grandmother, which is literally gossip. It's literally gossip. While she won't accept the evidence that we have in the search warrant. And you can call this evidence of whatever else, but they're not going to present this stuff and then it not be there. You know what I mean? Like pretending that the evidence presented in court documents is equal to, these just fantasies that people come up with and gossip and hearsay. Like, there's a hierarchy to evidence. And if it's in a court document that they're going to have to substantiate in court and they have to turn over to the defense, that's a lot stronger evidence than you saying, the grandmother said he wasn't into guns. Like, shut up. Like, most grandparents haven't seen their kids. They don't know what's going on with their grandkids' lives. And of course, by default, they're going to be extremely protective of their grandchildren. That's just how the world works.
Yeah, it's like, excuse me. Yeah, if it was in the indictment and it's been in the legal documents, they are going to have to at some point prove that or show that. And like you said, the defense is going to get to look at all of it. So even all the stupid nonsense about the discords being fake or the text messages being fake, you don't think the defense would call that out? I mean, obviously they would. If they believed for a second that any of that evidence was fake, they would be having it thrown out.
Yeah.
I mean,
no, you're absolutely right. And that's why these people, what they're resorting to at this point, now that so much more information has come out and it's not going to be challenged, is I think we're going to see more and more people pivot to that the defense is in on it. I mean, that's good. That's their only way out at this point. And then it's going to grow into like everybody's in on, the parents are in on, like they're going to continue to push this no matter what. And they're going to come up with, again, a bunch of reasonable arguments to believe something completely unreasonable. Well, what if this happens? What if this happens? What about this? They're trying to convince you of the illogical by using the logical argument. That's how it works. Colton says directly, Gary, I know you rub shoulders with officers. By the way, Colton, 1 R is fine. That's all you need. It would be good for some people to know the difference with circumstantial evidence, hard evidence, and eventually how contributors work. What we need to do is get, we'll have the beard lawyer come on again, and we can go through some of those things. Just a real quick example of, and I think most people do know circumstantial evidence. For a while there, one of the most powerful things that Candace Owens and other people were using, the strongest example that they were using to convince people that TPUSA was in on it, was Mikey McCoy's reaction after the gunshot. Okay, that is clearly circumstantial evidence that suddenly he turned and started walking away. That's circumstantial evidence. And they built a lot of narratives out of that one thing. Now, Candace kind of come full circle and saying, oh, Mikey McCoy is the only decent one of the group after she accused him of a lot of different things. She's always constantly switching targets when it's convenient. So that's circumstantial evidence. What is real evidence is when we have fingerprints, when we have DNA on the crime scene, when we have a screwdriver left at the scene of the crime with Tyler Robinson's DNA. Another great example of actual evidence, hard evidence, is material evidence, is we have electronic evidence through the surveillance footage. So we are going to see exactly where Tyler Robinson, what he did, his movements throughout. Maybe very soon I'll have Gray Hughes back on. We need to watch his new video where he created a bunch of animation that's very that is synced up with a moving Tyler Robinson and what you would essentially see from the surveillance footage, his movements, and he has it all kind of timed down to the second. So that's the difference between circumstantial evidence and hard evidence. But then there's just make believe. Right. And that make believe goes into just filling in information gaps with whatever you want.
And that's the one thing I wanted to say about the whole Mikey McCoy when she was after him in the beginning. She kept saying he calmly walked away. Well, first of all, it's a video and it's kind of from far away.
Yeah.
And every indicator you need to be able to tell if somebody's calm, which would be their heart rate, are they sweaty?
Facial expressions.
You can't tell that from a video.
No.
So saying he calmly walked away, that drove me insane.
Well, and everybody reacts to trauma so differently. Some people will become hysterical. Some people just shut down. Some people are in shock. And, for Candace to say that that's some sort of indicator that TPUSA or Mikey McCoy had foreknowledge of what was happening, it's just like, you're an idiot if you believe that. I don't know how another kinder way of saying these things. You're just a moron. You really are. But yeah, the other thing that they've done is they've taken bits and pieces of circumstantial evidence like that. And now they've added a whole new narrative into this that, TPUSA was involved. He had foreknowledge. Like, you're just filling in blanks with stupidity and just using your overactive imagination and creating narratives that didn't exist prior to that. So, that's what a lot of this has done. And then, my God, you start throwing in the French. We've never seen a bit of evidence the French was involved. We've never seen an email. We've never heard. All we got was anonymous sources with unverifiable information. And now the French are involved in this. We take someone that doesn't know anything about the military or operations or military operations or clandestine operations and says stupid things like, well, look at all these people that were wearing maroon shirts. Maybe maroon shirts were the color of the day. If you're going to do clandestine operations, you're not going to be color coding. I mean, it's so dumb and bizarre. Another good example is something just low IQ and dumb is the Google Trends thing that, Baron Coleman got quite famous for. Google Trends are not a historical record. They can't be reproduced. It's just the dumbest things possible. But these people are desperate to believe some of these things. And, it's concerning. I said this in a post the other day. It's number one, it's concerning how many people will believe total nonsense. And then what's even more concerning is even when presented as facts or presented with facts, how difficult it is for these people to stop believing things that are just absolutely proven untrue. Like, they just want to hold on to that.
Right. You can't, when they come into the chat and you try to have any kind of dialogue with them, it doesn't work. They are not open to the facts. They believe what they believe, whether it be that they hate Erica Kirk or that Turning Point was in on it or whatever, their thing is. Because each one of them, has their own little thing that they pick at.
Yeah.
And you try and push them on it. Like, okay, well, what evidence do you have? And you never get an answer. They just come back at you with another, accusation. So it's it's all ridiculous. It's like the court of law, the way we do investigations, the way accusations, everything has been like thrown upside down on its head. Law, journalism,
logic, reason, all those things.
Everything.
You know, the idea that you are innocent until proven guilty, we've switched that out with you're guilty until you prove your innocence to us. And by the way, we're going to take everything you provide us and we're going to create more content out of it. And then we're going to tell you that it's not good enough. And then we're going to make you give us something more, or we're going to double down on our accusation. And again, it's just content creation through extortion. Like, that is the business model of these people. And like, for people to sit back and just say, oh, that's okay, no problem there, is a little bit crazy. The other thing I am going to get to, matter of fact, Tammy, I think this is an excellent idea to some extent, and I'll tell you what, but Gray Hughes released part 2 today of Tiara walking to UVU, getting on the roof. We should watch it. He did a great job. Before we get to that, because I do want to bring that up and we'll do a little sneak peek. The other person that I'm sure most of you have run into, and I have worked a little bit behind the scenes. People have pointed out Elizabeth Lane, and there's some pretty good researchers out there that have reached out to me and was like, I cannot find anything on Elizabeth Lane. And I started researching Elizabeth Lane, and they're right. Like, I don't know if she's just this construct. I don't know if, I don't know. But what I do know is suddenly she's interviewing Tucker Carlson. We now know that she alleges that she was at the Pocahontas, I'm sure I said that wrong, the Pocahontas Hospital, whatever hospital it was that Charlie ended up at. And that is really strange, right? Suddenly she's there. I've heard that she's from Georgia, the country, not the state. But I've also heard people say, I've heard her speak Georgian, and she speaks it. She speaks with a really strange accent. It doesn't seem like it's a native Georgian accent. So I don't know where she's coming from. But when you start seeing Alexander Dugan, you start seeing these characters like Elizabeth Lane show up, and they're all in the same circles as Candace Owens, Tucker Carlson, and many of these other people. Like, you got to start looking at the Russian connection real quick. And I don't know. We need to. Some of those are questions that need answering, and we need to know more about these people. I'm not saying dox them or any of these other things. I'm saying that these people deserve to be researched a little bit so that we can understand what's happening. Because Alexander Dugan is definitely a Russian propagandist, nothing more, nothing less. And these people are buying into him wholesale. As a matter of fact, Candace talked about him like, oh, since you want to say that he's this, I'm more interested than ever before. Next thing you know, she's going to Russia. So, there's that. I don't know if you have anything else to add about Elizabeth Lane that you might know. That
no, I just when we were talking about it earlier, because Elizabeth Lane is from Russia, and isn't John Mappin too? But then I was thinking,
his wife is from Russia.
Yeah, the Hunter Biden. Because I was like, why did she interview him? He was in Ukraine for whatever he was doing over in Ukraine. Yeah. Which isn't exactly Russia, but it's very close. Yeah. So maybe that has, I don't know. I just wrote it down, for future reference, like the Elizabeth Lane, Hunter Biden, Candace, Russia.
No, there's definitely a link to all of that, and I'm not sure what it is. But there again, we're talking about UnFAmerica, which is clearly a product and an arm of the Democratic Party, and then now we suddenly have Hunter Biden doing this just completely promotional interview, not a single hard question. When we have Candace going back just a couple years ago, calling him a PDF, calling him a human trafficker. We know that he was selling influence, or at least there's a lot of evidence that he was allegedly selling influence and access to his father. Like, we're talking about the most corrupt son of a president, of the most corrupt president that's ever existed. All we got to do is look back at during his time in office, what we saw, the weaponization of the DOJ. We know that him and Hillary Clinton were involved in the DOJ or the Russian dossier, the Russia hoax. We know we have Biden that was part of the lockdowns, January 6th. I mean, anything that you can possibly point to as an element of corruption is covered under Joe Biden. He's one of the most corrupt politicians to ever exist, and he has a long history of corruption. Never mind, also sexual assault and things like that. But what's a little bit interesting to me is the fact that we constantly hear from their side, this woke right, talking about the Epstein files. They can't get enough of it. They talk about it all the time. Well, how come they're hanging out with John Mappin, who first and foremost is this crazy Scientologist? And yes, John Mappin appears in the Epstein files. He's in the famous Black Book entry. He's listed on page 35 of Epstein's Little Black Book. This contact address book is not a client list. And I want to be fair, unlike what they would do, because they would blow this out of proportion and immediately point to he has guilt of something. But how come no one is asking him about this? He was clearly in his address book. It could be completely benign, could be something very nefarious. Who knows? But what we've never heard is anyone challenge John Mappin on this. And this is the number one, like, this is the thing that they beat over everybody's head. Like, what about the Epstein list? You're, protecting child pedos and all this other stuff. But yet here we have someone that's actually in the Epstein list, in the Epstein files, and he's never been challenged on it. Not once. Not once.
Right. And just like, the 2 videos I did about Candace's great uncle, he's in the Epstein files, not for anything bad. He just happened to work at the Department of Planning and Natural Resources, which is where Epstein had to get his permits, to build on the island. So I found he's in there. And there's 2 other relatives of the Blyden family in there. But she's never even mentioned it. She actually, that whole branch of the tree, which this would be the grandmother that she lived with. These are her siblings. So they're all passed on now anyway. And that's how I put them together, was through the obituaries. And she's never even acknowledged that they're all from the Virgin Islands, and they're like right next to, and most of them were very, they're upstanding members of the Virgin Islands. One of them, there's politicians, pastors, basically all the things she hates and complains about on her show. Oh, her great uncle Roy was in the military, and he was a pastor. So military pastor. So of course she's going to ignore it.
Yeah. I think, the big takeaway here is Candace Owens is going to Russia. Candace Owens is already in the same circles as Alexander Dugin. Candace Owens is now hanging around Elizabeth Lane. Where did those relationships start? Where did Elizabeth Lane come from, and how does this play into it? Maybe it doesn't. Maybe it's circumstantial evidence. That's what we're looking at right here. What I do want to do real quick is I do want to go over to Great Hughes and just give you guys a quick preview of what's going on with that, because it is pretty darn interesting. So right here we have part 2 that he released today, part 1. I need to have him on so he can go through these, and I've been meaning to anyhow. But he goes through this entire timeline. Let me see what here we has, and he's put an animated version.
Gary, all we see is us.
Sorry. Hold on.
To almost 8:23 in the morning.
How's that?
So he drove up this direction. Now he may have parked for a minute or so, or just based off of traffic, it took him a while to get to the parking structure. So,
all right. So if you guys don't know, if you weren't here the other day for the briefing, he kind of gave us a sneak peek of what he's working on. Here he's created where we don't know where he was going, or we don't have video footage of him traveling, whether it's on foot or in a vehicle. Using the different court documents and now the different search warrants that come out, he has added that animation in, and it just paints a very clear picture of what was going on and when it happened to the second.
Well, here he is driving down the street. Now, the bottom right-hand corner, just before that, that's the house that has the surveillance footage on it. And I have it sped up here. So he's just driving around. And I'm going to say it took him 5 minutes after driving by there of 3 different parts, and then I'll put them all together in one final video but it was actually 10:07 or 10:08. Now I have a running clock down here. It's also keeping up with the 150% speed. And after that, garage door at the top corner is a surveillance camera. And as I always say, until next time, be safe out there.
All right. So that's part 1. I want you guys to go watch it. I don't want to sit here and watch the whole thing. I don't want to take any views. I want you guys to go watch it. Here's part 2. We'll do a quick sneak peek of what we have going on here.
So Tyler Robinson's walking right here. And then when we get to that next driveway on the left, that's the driveway. Mother expressed concern to her husband that the suspected shooter looked like have a 360-degree image that I took.
So you can see, number 1, he's using the charging documents and other court-related material, and just to the minute, he's showing you exactly where he was, or the best timeline possible of where approximately he was at the approximate time. And this was actually when Gray Hughes and I were both there. He may have filmed this the day before. He got there a day earlier than I, but a lot of this footage I know was filmed with me.
From exactly up in the air, within a foot or two of where that 360-degree camera is.
So the reason that you're seeing this footage so clear is because he took a drone and he put his 360-degree camera on it and put it right where the security camera that caught him. So now we have basically 4K footage. It's probably right now, this is probably 1080p, just the way it comes through on the video. But that person that's right there by that light pole is an animation that he's inserted into this and spent a lot of time and effort. So make sure you guys go give him a like. Hell, go give him a super chat.
The documents state that at approximately 12:02 hours, Robinson is observed walking on the north side of the Losey Center building, walking with the same gait as observed earlier. Robinson walks south on the sidewalk on the east side of the Losey Center building. Robinson enters the Losey Center building, and this is where I pick up my 360-degree video again. Almost his eyes. He's going through the door. Obviously, he'd probably walk slightly slower than that. And we don't know what Tyler Robinson was doing in the building from 12:04 to 12:15. It could be that he actually went out those back door and then took a right and walked a little bit. You can see the courtyard where Charlie Kirk spoke.
Yeah, so from in this corridor, you go up there to the right, you can actually reach the courtyard from right here. Or you can go straight out and ultimately go up.
And he was doing his event. And maybe he watched that for a little bit, saw that he was on stage, and then came back and went up the stairs. So what I'm suggesting is after coming in here, we don't really know where he went, but it's possible that he went out here and turned to the right. You see in front of us right there? If you go to the right, that actually goes to a place where you can see the stage. And then Tyler Robinson walks up these stairs. At approximately 12:15 p.m., Robinson is observed walking up the stairs that lead to the common area adjacent to the Losey Center building. Robinson walks to a short concrete wall that separates the common area from the rooftop of the Lizzy Center building. Now, as you can see in that previous clip, there is a short wall that Robinson makes his way to, and it's very short. You can just basically step over it or just lean over and kind of roll into it. The documents state that at approximately 12:17 hours, Robinson climbs over the short wall and appears to crouch down on the north side of the wall of the rooftop, as you can see here in the video. At approximately 12:22 hours, Robinson stands up and starts running across the rooftop of the Lizzy Center building. Robinson runs to the west side of the rooftop and appears to scoot along the rooftop area as he gets closer to the edge of the rooftop. Now you'll see all of this in animated form. He gets closer to the edge of the rooftop, slows down, crouches down.
And kind of the point behind this is predicting what will be seen from this camera angle. That's what this is, folks. This is all on footage. This has all been captured. But, this is all the stuff that exists that they want to pretend don't exist.
And lays down.
We should start talking about revoking gun rights for transgender. So, do you know how many transgender Americans have been mass shooters over the last 10 years? Too many. Counting or not counting gang violence? What's that?
And I want you to look at this picture on the right. This is a picture that I was literally down below when he was holding up his camera, and he captured these images. And by the way, you can also, there's pictures of the FBI collecting evidence, and there's tags at all of these points. So we know that they saw this. We know this was collected as evidence. There's pictures of this, and here we are, I don't know, 3 or 4 weeks after the event, and those marks are still there in that soffit and fascia that we see there.
We are here live at Utah Valley State University.
So at 12:24:30 is when he reached the road. Let me see when the actual shot took place.
It's just, there's just so much stuff.
Before we had a flag and we had it, so it's
Counting or not counting gang violence?
So it took him about a minute. Because at 12:24:30, he's already by the road. So in under a minute, he's basically right there by the road.
We are here live at Utah Valley State University. There's been a shooting at the Charlie Kirk event, the TPUSA event. There has been a shooting.
All right. Well, you guys go give him a view on there. Make sure you throw a like on there, and if you haven't done so already, make sure you subscribe. He does such excellent work. And folks, that stuff is so time consuming. It's really hard to even explain how much time that probably took. I mean, that probably took tens of hours just to create that. He's creating a 3-part series with that. So make sure, if you're interested in this case, I don't care if you are watching and you don't believe the Fed slop, you at least need to go watch that and just objectively watch it with an open mind and say, hey, is this more reasonable than some of the things that I believe? What was your thoughts on that, Shannon?
Yeah, I mean, I think his work is amazing with that. Like I saw when he was on and showed you the little sneak peek the other day. But yeah, I don't see why it's so hard to understand, especially when it's laid out for you like that. What he did really wasn't that difficult.
Yeah.
I mean,
no.
taking aside taking someone's life, but to get to that point, it wasn't that hard for him to walk upstairs, get to the roof and then get away. It's not that hard.
And according to, I didn't watch, but according to Cinema Shogun, he recapped Candace's video from yesterday. And apparently she was pushing the false narrative again that, he had to, scale the walls like Spider-Man. And all you do is step over a guardrail. That's all you have to do. Nothing complicated about it. Gary Zeitgeist is a very popular documentary that attacks religion and America's financial system. I think you should watch it because it actually is actually very convincing before you dig into it more. I'll check that out. And that's what we see with a lot of these people, whether it's Ian Carroll, Candace, or any of these people. Like they can provide you they can provide you a very convincing argument and use some of the things that to be true and weaponize truth to smuggle in a bunch of lies that are very convincing. It's very easy to believe. These people are good at what they do, but then you start digging into it. One of the things that I've heard, I watched a video from Ian Carroll. He talked about how the Schofield Bible was created by Jews and went into a whole bunch of things. And I watched that, and then I started looking that up. And oh man, what is his name? He is the apologist from Canada. I can't think of his name at the moment. Somebody that actually knows biblical history. And he actually addressed, I don't know if it was in response to him, but that came up. And he went through and systematically, completely broke that piece of propaganda apart. I mean, it's just not true. So you got to be careful with some of these, whether it's a documentary, when it's, somebody just giving you a presentation online, like go in there and proof some of that information. But I will definitely check that out. Here's the most important question you're going to get all day for probably the next month, Shannon. Peanut butter on French toast.
Well, it's kind of not fair because I've actually put way more thought into this than most guests who get the question. The first time I ever saw this, I was like, oh my God, that is disgusting. But now I'm actually thinking like, I'm going to have to try it just because. And I saw you do yours live. Mm-hmm. You finally did it. So yeah, I think I'm going to give it a chance. My original take was no way, no, but I'm going to give it a chance. I'm going to try it.
Glad you have an open mind. And now that you've been presented with the question, you're going to have to do it, or you're just going to have on a
live. Yeah.
You're going to have Bronson stalk you until you do it. I mean, that's what happens there. Candace knows her followers are too dumb to hold her accountable, so she'll look straight at the camera and completely lie and contradict things she said that are literally on video. It is. She does it all the time, and it's just mind-boggling to watch. Colton, thank you, buddy. Go do some husband duties. We appreciate you, man. You too. Have a good night. Wherever the hell that lady came from, she's freaking psychotic to sit there and look at Candace and tell this woman she's a good person with no hate in her heart. I almost felt like come out of Elizabeth Lane, right? Mm-hmm. Circumstantial evidence is people that suspects talk to or random people in the area where bad stuff happened. You can't charge someone for anything crazy because they were in the same area. Yeah, like just because you were there and you're circumstantially tied to the event, again, it typically takes a lot more than just circumstantial evidence to And again, there's a hierarchy of even circumstantial evidence. It's like, you know, if you have something like we have with Charlie Kirk and Mikey McCoy, he was there. All right, that's circumstantial evidence that he might be tied into that. That's very different than if, you know, God forbid, I end up unalived and my wife was the only person in the house. Like, that's a much stronger circumstantial evidence than what we see with Charlie Kirk. You know, she probably did it. She probably got me. You guys check out my life insurance policy, see if she just renewed it. Exceptional that you went there with grief and hurt, same degree. Yeah, you know, I mean, it was important. It was important, and I think we need to go back. I really do. I definitely want to go back once we get to some of the more important hearings and ultimately even the trial. I would love to be able to cover the trial. We'll see if that's even possible. One thing I'm definitely going to do, let me tell you something. The first time, number one, if there's any significant hearing and or ultimately trial that comes down with the Macron case, I'm definitely going to try to make that. And the other one that I'm going to attend is the Brian Harpole case. You better believe I'm going to be there watching that. And I hope I get to see Candace and all the expressions she makes as all the evidence gets laid out. And I can't wait to report that to you. That would be amazing.
I think she was worried about that one.
I agree. Yo, YouTube is not showing you are live unless you go directly to your video. Doesn't surprise me at all, man. I just had a bunch of other people saying, Gary, every time you go live now, I'm subscribed. I've hit the bell icon. Look, that's the operational environment that we're in. Our channel's always been suppressed. I could sit around and whine about it. I rarely even try to bring it up because there's no point in it. It's like there's too much evidence of it. So you can say whatever you want about it, but yeah. Well, first of all, Jen, you jump in here. Tell us anything you have to add to this, and then I'll have Shannon kind of give us some parting words, or if there was anything that we missed that she can kind of cover.
Well, I did find this just in regards to the UnFAmerica tour and the documentary. These are some of the examples of chapters that you can start at universities and colleges.
Okay.
So I went to the Young Democratic Socialists of America, and guess what? It's the same process. So for them to make it out like TPUSA is doing something wrong by signing up online is a joke. And these are some of the reasons why chapters go unactive, or, you know, they may be listed as active in the system, but for whatever reason, they're not active on campus.
Sure.
Because kids move away. Only 2 to 3 students are involved. A chapter gets approved, but it doesn't actually go active.
Yeah,
so all of these different reasons. So if you have 2,000 to 3,000 chapters across the country, of course a couple of them are going to be inactive.
Yeah.
So these people are making a mountain out of a molehill, and it's all to give bad press to TPUSA, and it's paid for by Act Blue.
Yep. And then supported and promoted by the likes of Project Constitution and many other grifters out there.
Exactly.
Yeah, the leader, the lady,
Z Cohen Sanchez, or Sanchez Cohen, something like that.
She campaigned for Bernie Sanders and AOC. That's what she did before she started the ground game or whatever it's called.
Yeah, and by the way, right before the show, folks, just for giggles, I tried to do a background check on Z Cohen, just using was it Truvia or whatever it is, you know, whatever you can pay for. Truth Finder. It was Truth Finder, and I couldn't find anything on her. Like, her name's not even coming up. So I don't know if that's her real name, if something else. And again, this is not something I'm saying people need to find out to we don't need a doctor or anything like that. But again, I think it is valid to look into who these people are.
Right. Like, where did she come from? Yeah, like the surface research I got, it was the Bernie Sanders campaign came up first, and then AOC, and then her starting the thing, the stuff she's doing now, which led to the, UnFAmerica tour.
Yeah.
And that's about it. There wasn't anything before that. So I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I think as time goes on, we're going to continue to see these links emerge, and it's going to be more and more obvious to what's going on. And luckily, there's so many of you that are in our audience that already see it and understand the threat that it poses to truth. I mean, that's what it comes down to. So these people are trying to undermine the fabric of our country, which is truth. Like, you can't have a democracy. And I know we're a constitutional republic, and everybody, we get very semantical with all this stuff. But ultimately, we vote people in based on what we know to be the circumstances. And when you are constantly manipulating the facts and not using the facts, and you're pushing propaganda and you're pushing false narratives, that's how we manipulate people into voting against their own interests. And that's what's taking place here in this country. And that's why it's so important. And 6 months ago, if I'd have told people, and I was telling people, I'm like, look, even I underestimated Candace, but I understood that the threat, what she was doing, posed to this country, and how it was definitely going to, how it was going to affect us in the long term. I thought it was going to kind of fizzle out. And I thought basically what was going to happen is that was a preparation for a larger psyop. And we're going to get someone in there that's much more charismatic, much more believable. Because I was like, this can't go on for another 3-4 months. I was like, there's no way. Especially after Fort Huachuca, I was like, oh, this is pretty much done. Like, this is going to go away. And here we are now in we're in May. So I never thought it was going to grow. And it grew because too many people ignored it. Remember back in December, January, when all of us were like, all these big accounts, like, you should be speaking out. You should be fighting back. We were talking about Brandon Tatum and all these stuff that finally got on board, that I hold responsible for some of this. Because if they'd have been speaking out with their large platform, we could have put this forest fire out when it was still a campfire. And that's why, man, I saw it again. As a matter of fact, who was it that posted that? This whole starve the grift thing, it drives me up the wall. Starving the grift gets us nothing but Candace Owens. She was not being paid attention to by a lot of people. And that's why she got as big as she did. So, we need to identify these threats early and address them and call them out for what they are as quickly as possible, so that, another Candace Owens in the future is less likely to happen. The other thing, I can't wait to see how all of these lawsuits, I think that's going to also make people think twice about trying to mimic what she's doing. I hope it's not just Candace, because there's a lot of people that should also be held accountable for some of these things. But I did want to share this real quick. Joshua Carr posted this, and I reposted what he said, which he's a great account. We need to get him on the show sometime. He said, I've gotten this comment a lot recently. Stop talking about Candace Owens. You're only amplifying her. Did we have the same perspective talking about Hillary Clinton? And I say, ignoring the problems doesn't make them go away. Leaving destructive ideologies and mind viruses unopposed only allows them to spread. And I want to just think back to Charlie Kirk. Is that what Charlie Kirk did? He was like, hey, look, if we just ignore this trans ideology, it'll go away. We're just giving it more air, right? We're breathing life into it. It's going to be the Streisand effect. We've never approached this with anything of import like this at all, whether it's leftist ideology, communism. It's important. Well, I will say that communism was spreading on campuses, and it did go unopposed. And that's where a lot of this stuff breeds, which is exactly why Charlie went to the source and was pushing back on it with truth, logic, evidence. That's how and why Charlie became the force of nature that he was. And what all these people are trying to get us to do is the exact opposite of what Charlie did. The left would love nothing more. Candace Owens would love nothing more if you just starved the grift and ignored her and let her grow and continue to grow her, isolated village of idiots exponentially, because that's what's taking place. But I digress. All right, Shannon, number one, thank you so much for coming on. Folks, make sure you guys go follow Shannon and support her and everything that she's doing. Make sure you guys go support Gray Hughes. Leave us with some words of wisdom, Shannon.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me.
My pleasure.
Yeah, starving Candace isn't going to work. We have to call her out, and we have to tell the truth, and basically support all the channels that are telling the truth about everything, not just Candace.
Yeah.
Because the algorithms promote the conspiracies, the entertainment, it takes the viewers to really help the channels that aren't pushing that kind of stuff. So
yeah, no, I agree. And the other thing too is I was just thinking about this. There was another creator that we've had on channel. This person's awesome. I love her content. The other thing that we need to get better at, and I'm still working on this, but other creators need to think about this too, is like little things like thumbnails and titles, folks. That goes a long way. And I don't know, I think one day we just need to do a really large panel. And I know it'll get a little chaotic, but I think we need to get some creators in here and talk about like, hey, here's some practical ways to help grow your channel. Thumbnails, folks, they mean so much. You can have the greatest content. If your thumbnail and your title sucks, like it means a lot. So, anyways, the other thing too is, again, so many people out there are looking at, I want you to get active in some way. And the first thing that you can do, here's your call to action, folks. This is what I want you to do. I want you to share this content. And I also want you to share people like Shannon over at S-Files and many other places. So you got to share their content. That's the way that you really support them. And, when I come across, there's so many folks that I follow that I consider friends and comrades in all this. Even when they have a post that I think isn't that great, I share it anyways. It's free.
Mm-hmm.
You click retweet, or you share it on one of the other social media platforms. It takes zero effort. It costs you nothing, and it's the least you can do. And that is actually going to have a bigger impact than coming on here and giving us super chats. And we appreciate those. We love those. Thank you all for doing those things. But sharing the content is the way that you spread the message. And that's what Candace Owens and all her sycophants do. And that's what all the bots are doing. They know how impactful that is. They know how effective that is. That's why all of these different entities are pushing her and promoting her and sharing her content and down there fighting in her comments. Like, all that stuff goes a long way. Well, listen, Shannon, thank you so much for coming on. Real quick, I know we got some great shows coming up. Jen, give everybody, what are we doing tomorrow?
Tomorrow night we have Lady Luck Club on.
Yeah.
And then next week we have Nate Vance coming back on. We have the older millennial coming on. And we have Nick Matau coming on.
Awesome. All right, so we got a busy week coming up. I was just on the phone last night with Nate Vance. We're going to be going over the ballistics. He actually works for a company that makes bullets and projectiles. He's very knowledgeable when it comes to ballistics. We're going to try to do the definitive show on ballistics. At the end of it, like, you will not be able to argue that that shot was impossible, that it didn't exit. And we're going to go through, and we were talking about and strategizing all the different information that we've collected over a lot of different shows and kind of, compiling it all. I've addressed this in kind of bits and pieces, and whether you're into the Charlie Kirk thing or you're just into ballistics, it'll be an awesome show. So make sure you come join us. I believe that's Monday, right?
That is correct.
Yep, Monday at 7 p.m. And also tomorrow night, Lady Luck. Well, listen, Shannon, thank you so much for coming on, folks. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for all your love and support. We appreciate you so much. Oh, I almost forgot this. I almost missed it. Colton, you came back. I thought you were out doing husband stuff. You're going to get in trouble. You're going to get me in trouble with your wife. God bless the USA with a constitutional republic and a democratic voting system. The only way to break it is misinformation and votes from within. That is exactly right. That's why we have to treat all of these lies for the threat that they really are. Thank you very much, Colton. Thank you all for tuning in. Thank you again, Shannon, for coming on. We appreciate you. I appreciate your work that you're doing out there. You're doing God's work, and we love you. All right? We love you. Keep doing what you're doing. You don't go anywhere. But for everybody else, thank you for tuning in tonight. And until next time, until tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, join us for Lady Luck. But until then, stay armed, stay ready. We'll talk to you soon.